Hey guys, it's Coder here, and in this video I'm basically going to be going through how I would create an admin sort of dashboard template in HTML and CSS and possibly some JavaScript with jQuery too. The reason I'm making this video is because a lot of people on sites like Hack Farms and LeakSX etc. they seem to think that Bootstrap's needed for absolutely every single web project that they do, when it's really not. They seem to think that making some basic responsive admin template. The reason I'm going with an admin template is because I do them mostly along with other things, but they are pretty simple to do, and it's actually used a lot for layouts like stressors and booters, whatever you call the difference between them. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. This will probably be quite a long video. I'm sorry, but my mic quality isn't really that great because it's never really been great, but it's not that great this video. So the first thing that we're going to do is just going to go to your desktop, whatever, for any web project, and I'm just going to create a new folder, and let's just call it something simple like zero source. That's what a kind of generic sort of Hack Farms type name. Let's open this up here, and we'll add in some folders for our resources. So let's create a new folder, and the first thing I always create is styles. Some people might call that CSS. Another folder, and we'll just rename this to images, and again we'll create another one, and we'll call this scripts. Some people might call this JavaScript or just JS. And the last one, include. Technically speaking, we don't need this because we're not actually going to be doing any PHP, and that's what you'd put in here for your classes and stuff like that. But I always have it anyway. It's just what I do. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to open up any kind of editor that you want. So let's start with, I'm going to go into Sublime Text free. This one is. This is my favorite editor for HTML and CSS and this sort of stuff. Anything that doesn't get compiled I use for this. And just to show some resources that we're probably going to be using for this video, right now this is kind of the thing that we're going to be aiming to create, this sort of layout here, but obviously this will take quite a long time, so I might not get it as clean as this. I might get it kind of a bit dodgy looking, but it shows the same sort of principles. Google and then flat UI colors. The reason I'm using this is because it's kind of like a generalized color sort of palette for any flat UI project that works quite well. And Google fonts, because I like to use fonts from Google because they're hosted and on a CDN. It's really quick instead of having to load them on your own host and waste bandwidth and stuff like that. So yeah, and then color picker, instead of just using Photoshop, I'm just going to use this because it's quick and easy. And then I've got this because sometimes when you're creating for Tablet you forget what the media queries are. Okay, so that's for the responsiveness. Okay, so let's jump into Sublime, and we're just going to start off by creating the basic HTML that any page would have. So we'd start off with the doc type. So doc type HTML, this is the default one for HTML5. I didn't used to put it in, but I kind of just do now because it doesn't really make a difference. And then we'll create a HTML tag, then our head tag, and then our title tag. And we'll just, whoopsies, I forgot that it auto completes. And then we'll just call it zero source like that. And then we'll go ahead and close that for now. And we'll open up the body tag, keep going down a wee bit, and we'll close off the, I forgot that it keeps doing that. And then close off the HTML tag. Okay, so now let's just go ahead and save this inside, this was just some tests. Let's go ahead and jump that into zero source, and since it's just the index file, we'll just name it index and then go ahead and save that in our main directory. So when we open this up, there's nothing here. That's what we expected, obviously. And now back into Sublime, we'll create a brand new CSS document. So first of all, let's go to view, syntax, CSS, or alternatively you could just go down here and change it to CSS. Doesn't really matter, since you save it, it'll add syntax highlighting anyway. So the first thing I always do is I start off with my global sort of thing. So this from here means everything. You could add like pseudo after and stuff like this, but it doesn't really matter. So what we're going to add is we're going to add in margin 0 and padding 0. The reason for this is because this removes any sort of default padding, which is about 5 pixels on every single page, so that the header will actually be on the the sort of on the border of the actual page. It won't be 5 pixels in padded. Okay, and then we'll just go ahead and save this real quick as a demo. So in styles, and I always just by default I call it global because in my BB, the form software, it's always global, or you can call it main, whatever you want. Call it styles even if you want, or just theme. I call it global like that, and I got that. Okay, so now we have to link this into our main sort of index page, and so to do that we just use our link tag. So link rel equals style shaped, type equals text slash CSS, href equals that's styles global dot CSS, and even if we refresh our site now we won't see anything. So let's just call it test. So test test text like that. Go into our web browser and refresh, And there you go, test text. And as you can see, it's at the very top, it's on the very edge of the page, it's not 5 pixels in. That's because we have this here. Okay, so another thing that we're going to do now is we're going to go into Google Fonts. I always start off by doing this, and we're going to add in some fonts. So let's go ahead and add in Open Sans. So we'll click Add to Collection, and once we add that to collection, what we can do is we can go ahead and use it, and we'll just add in a few here. Just add in most of them, but you don't want to make the page load too big, or else just a waste if you don't use them all. But I tend to use some of them, so that's why I use quite a lot. So copy just I forgot this. Hold on. Copy this. Oh my god. I like to hold it, copy it. There you go. And now some people might disagree with doing this. I just do it because it saves time. You do import at the very top, import URL, and then just paste that in there. And there you go. You've got Google Open Sans right there. So let's add that to our body. So body, font family, Open Sans, like so. And when we refresh this, Open Sans, nice and clean, nice sans serif right there. Okay, so let's go back to our index, and we're going to be creating the top sort of panel here, which is this sort of area right here, the top sort of blue bit with the you can call it a logo, but it's really just like the name, like the header name. So let's start doing that. I always tend to just do div id equals header, because that's what you call the top of your page, the header. So header, div header. Oh, I forgot it keeps auto-completing. Alright, and let's go into our styles and do div with the ID of header, and we'll set the width of this to 100%, give it a height of 50 pixels, and a background color of, and then let's go to flat UI colors, and let's go with this blue that I used for the hack forms for this. That's that blue right there. I think or it might be similar to it. I'm sure it is though. So midnight blue, copy that, and we'll just paste that in there, and then add in the margin. So it's margin 0 auto. Technically it should always be that, but I like to keep it centered even if it is, the full width, just in case, So yeah, let's jump back into our web browser now and refresh. And there you go, simple top bar. Didn't take too long. We don't have to use Bootstrap, anything. Just there you go, bam, right in there. So now let's create a div class for our call it a logo, but it's just a header really. So div class equals logo. And you can put images and stuff like that in here, but it's mainly just a link. So let's do a href equals, and we'll do a hashtag for now because it goes nowhere. And then in here we'll just type in the name of the source or whatever. So zero source is what I called it. And just for the swag, we're going to be putting a span in here. The reason we're using a span is because it's an inline element, so that means that it won't be adding any sort of it won't be adding a new line after it once it's there. So it just stays in the same line, and we can add styles to the span, if that makes any sense. Alright, so yeah, let's jump into our CSS. And we're actually going to go up here real quick, and we're going to add in a global declaration for this, and we're just going to say that for anchor links, we're going to completely remove any, no borders right now. We're going to remove any color, well not color actually, it's text decoration, that's what we're looking for. So that's all going to be none. And then we're going to go down, and we're going to say logo A, and we're going to give it a font size of about 1.6 EM, so that's your extra margin. So instead of using pixels, even though we are actually going to be using pixels for shifting it down and stuff, I tend to try use these sort of sizes because we're going to try and make it cross browser, so we'll cross screen size, so it's responsive. So I tend not to use pixels too much, or I try not to. And then just add a global for the header or the logo here, and we'll just do float left because we're floating to the left, just in case we want to add anything to the right of this, like I don't know, a log out sort of link or something, or an avatar sort of thing. And then give it a margin top of, let's just give it for a wee that's 4 pixels for now, and change the color of this to white like that. And then we're going to grab logo and say logo a span, and we're going to give it a lighter sort of thing, so font weight equals 300. And there you go, zero source, just simple text right there. And let's resize this because that's way too big. So 1.3, and that actually looks, the general sort of size that we're looking for. So in logo, we're going to actually shift that down a few pixels. So let's go for 7. Keep trying it. Basically, when you're doing this sort of thing, it's a lot easier to just keep trying it instead of failing. So that's way too much. So let's change that to just 10. See how that goes. That's perfect. So that's kind of pretty much centered. And then what we'll do is we'll always do margin left, of course, so margin left, so it's not right at the edge, and we'll go with 15 pixels. I usually tend to use 15 pixels for every sort of padding that we use for the pixels. And there you go. So now that's fine. Actually, I'm going to change it to 10 real quick. 10. There you go. And now it's just sitting there up the top. So that's very simple. And if we resize this, as you can see, it stays relative to where it is. So yeah, really simple. So now let's add in our sidebar and then the content area. Okay. Now there's something here that we have to add to the very top, and that's our box sizing. So I believe this is correct. Box sizing, or not done this in quite a long time. That might be wrong. Let's Google that. Box sizing, border box. That's what we're looking for. So box size. Yeah, it was correct. Was it correct? Did I get it right? Let's check. Box sizing, border box. Yeah. You're probably wondering, what does this mean? It means that because when you're using padding, because that's what we need to use for this, so it stays, responsive. What it does is it would take the width of it, then add on the padding, instead of taking the width of it, keeping that the same, and then padding it inwards. So that's basically adding inward layers instead of making it fatter, basically. So it's that's what padding was supposed to do originally in Internet Explorer. So this would be default in Internet Explorer, but a lot of people use it in every other browser because it's so much better, so much more useful, and it doesn't mean it just means you don't have to have containers for every single responsive element that you have. So yeah. You only see the use of that soon when I actually add in the sort of content area. Okay, so let's add another div ID. Div ID equals container, and this is going to contain these two elements. The reason we're writing a container for this is because we have two elements that are going to float next to each other, so we have to actually have some form of, parent for that, so it doesn't just float anywhere. Like so. So div container. Okay. Now here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand about this. The best way for this to work is if you have your sidebar at a certain width that stays the same. Unless you go down to tablets, you'll change it by a few pixels. So I tend to use 245 pixels or even 250, somewhere along that sort of range. And then what you do is you change the margin left of the content and shift that to the right, so it works. And then you make the width of that auto. I'll show you that in a second here. So let's do that. So div class equals sidebar. Sorry if I'm rushing this, guys. It's just I'm trying to get it, not too long of a video size, because web development can take quite a long time. But that's what I'm trying to, fight in this sort of video, just to show you guys that it's not taking long at all. And then we'll create another div class, and we'll just call this, let's just call it content, like that. I keep forgetting that auto completes. It didn't do that in the other version I used to use. Okay, so now that we have this div ID container, let me just show you this. If we do div container in here, I tend to do quite a lot of tests just to show that the layout bounds, so actually you can actually see it before we implement anything for it. So div container width always is going to be 100% of the page, and it's always going to be centered, I'd like to think. So yeah. And then do sidebar, and as I said, we set the width. Now here's the thing that I really don't enjoy doing about the sidebar. I don't think it's in Firefox, but it might be in Chrome. If you do calc, or you change it to calc 100%, what it will do is every time see if you set an element equal to 100% of the page, it will go there, right? So you could do 100% minus 50 pixels and that would work, instead of having this sort of random scroll which kind of ruins it. I'll show you that in a second. So let's put the width of this to 250 pixels, the height equal to, just for now we'll change it to 100%, and I'll test if that works in a second. And background color, let's go with 0101. I believe that would work. And float left. We might not need the float left actually, but we'll see. So yeah, that didn't work. Why didn't that work? I don't believe this is the right background color. Or hold on, sidebar. Yeah, there's nothing in here actually. I think that may be the reason. Yeah, that's the reason there was nothing in it. But once we add in stuff, it will make more sense. But that should actually be showing it anyway. So that's kind of annoying. Maybe if we remove the float, it'll work. No. But yeah, it won't really matter because as soon as we add in the overall sort of thing, it's because we're using a percentage width. It doesn't really do it quite a lot of the time for some random obscure reason. So yeah, let's go back to our content now. So over to our content, and real quick, we'll just make the width auto. Might have to change that. And quite a lot of the web development that I do, or web front end development I should say, I don't make up as I go along. Well, sometimes I do, but sometimes I just have to experiment before I can actually get it right, so it's working. So it might take quite a lot of time to do it. So yeah. Inside the width, and let's go with just for now, hey, we'll actually give it a fixed height right now, 500 pixels, so we can actually try to see if it's working. So on the sidebar as well, 500 pixels like that, and then a background color. As I said, I just use random colors, so that's red, and there you go. So now these are next to each other, and when we resize, they stay they stay relevant to each other, and by that I mean the sidebar stays the same width, of course, because if you could make it the same, like this, you could make it both of them resize, but then you have to use percentages, and that kind of really screws up. If you're using like a laptop, it can look really terrible, and when you're using a desktop, full view looks fine, but then as you resize it down, it will just look absolutely terrible. So as you can see now, we've got this kind of working. So yeah, now we can add in the sidebar links and add some, maybe some hover effects, and then we can add in our content and some content boxes. Right, so sorry if I'm rushing this, but I'm really trying my best to get it all fit in. Okay, so the height equals 100%. I'm not even sure this will show, but we'll see. 100%. Okay, and it didn't show. I'm going to quickly remove the doc type, 1 second. So yeah, remove the doc type. That's why I never use the doc type, because for some reason it screws it up. I don't know why, because it sets the HTML version and then it fucks it, essentially. Alright, and this is what I'm talking about. What I said. So we're in the full view right now. We're in like 100% everything, because it's full screen. And when we can scroll, we shouldn't be able to scroll, because we're not actually got any content down here yet. It'll be fine once we can scroll, but we tend not to want to scroll when there's nothing there. And to fix this, what we do is we would actually do, in the CSS, we would do the height equal to calc 100% minus 50 pixels, and then that would resize it. And as you can see, thing is overflowing that. Hold on, let's copy this right here. We're gonna change this back, of course, so it works, because that doesn't work in Mozilla yet. Okay, now you see, now there's no scroll, and it still, if we resize, it still stays relevant to itself. So it's a shame that that doesn't work in Mozilla Firefox. You can test it. They might have fixed it in the new one, or added its own Mozilla sort of calc for it, but for now we're just going to have to keep it, sadly we're just going to have to keep it at 100%, because try to keep it as cross-browser as possible, so it works on all browsers. So there you go, we have the scroll, but it doesn't really make much of a difference, but it's kind of annoying, but it shouldn't really matter. Alright, so now let's change the content background to let's make it white for now, actually, just white. And then we'll add in some quick content there, just to show you something that I was talking about. So inside the content, we'll add in some content, yay, like that. Okay, now as you can see, we need padding here, because this just looks terrible. It's right up the edge. And to add padding, of course, we use padding in CSS. So in here, padding, whoops, caps for some reason, and then 15 pixels, and voila. That's odd. I shouldn't be doing that. Hold on. Padding. Let's try padding left 15 pixels as well. Things see, sometimes you just run into problems, but that's really odd actually. Need to make sure this is correct. It looks kind of weird. One more time. Box sizing. Border box. That should be correct as well. Box sizing. Yeah, it's correct. It's just really weird because it should be working. This will probably show you what it does. It just saves so much. It should be a standard, this guy says. It just saves so much time with containers and stuff. That is very odd. It shouldn't be doing that. Wow. Yeah, I know why it is. It's because, as I said, we have to actually shift the content, or else it's just going to screw up. So margin left equals the width of the sidebar. So that's not 300, it's 250 pixels. And again, we'll have to add in the padding again. 15 pixels, and there we go. And you see now it's shifted inside 15 pixels on each side, and when we resize, it all stays relevant. So that's what we're looking for. Okay. So we'll keep that there for now, and then we'll start focusing on the sidebar. So real quick, I'm going to get a kind of dark color, but I don't want it to be too dark, so let's go with 1. Anything between like 1 as the start of the hex should be fine, so let's go with 1, 7. So 17, 17, 17. Let's remember that. And background color. 17, 17, 17, like that. And then, not the S, but resize. There you go. It's a bit weird looking because it's actually a bit lighter, but it looks just fine. We'll add in some darker hovers for it as well. We're not going to be covering these. These are icons that I got from flaticon.com. I'll show you that real quick, actually. Flaticon.com. This is a brilliant site. It's so much better than Glyphicon, or Glyphicons, whatever you call them. It's just, oh my god, it's incredible. There's so much stuff you have in here. So if you wanted to have like a download sort of button, there you go. There's like literally just hundreds of them. I've already got a few icons in here. Like this is the GitHub icon and some settings and that sort of stuff. So yeah, you might want to use this. And to get these, you do like icon font, and then it would download. You know, hold on. I download this, and it has all this stuff in it, and then it has all these icons, and it actually shows you how to do it. So you do. It's really easy because what you can do is you can just replace it. So if you want to add more icons, you add more into your flat icon and then just replace it. So I'll have a link for a flat icon or flat icon in the description. Right, so sorry for showing you that, guys. I thought it was just a waste of time, but it's just really great. So as I said, not going to be having any icons because it's just really simple. So inside our sidebar, we're going to have an unordered list, which is what a UL is. And we're going to make the ID nav, so ULID equals nav. I would be using the nav, the actual HTML5 nav, but I just don't really see much point in that right now because it doesn't make much of a difference. The same reason why I tend not to use header, you know, the header tag or article, these sort of things, because inside the Mozilla developer network, I will actually say something like, oh yeah, it's, you know, the standard is to actually have some, you know, stuff in there like a header, like H1 or something. So yeah, let's add in some links into here, and we'll just say dashboard for here, just dashboard. So we'll keep that empty. You're probably wondering why did I just make that empty, so I can duplicate it a few times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's duplicated 5 times, like that. And then generally, dashboard, booter hub. If you want to, I'm just adding random stuff now. Stressor, friends, search, and purchase, because a lot of people that make these sort of things are trying to make money from them, and when we do that, there you go. So that's really simple. All we have to do now is add some padding and make that look a bit better. So let's go into our global here, and we'll do ul id equals nav, and nothing for that right now, so we'll jump down to ul nav, whoopsies, ul nav list, and that's nothing for now. We'll actually do list style equals none, just in case. Ul nav list A, so this is our anchor links, and we'll change the colour of this real quick to CCC, and that's kind of grey, so we'll show you that. There you go. It's a bit, we'll have to, obviously I have to keep changing the colours because something looks okay and then it just looks terrible if you change stuff, so you have to keep tweaking it and kind of get to work. That's why I tend to use these, because they save a lot of time, they look pretty good, I have to say. Okay, so now we'll change the, for the links, because we're trying to make it so it fills up the whole parent container, which is the sidebar, like the width wise, we use display block and then we add padding to it. So padding equals, let's go with 12 pixels. I know I said I don't tend to use pixels, that's way too big, but we'll keep it 10, and then we'll change the font size real quick to about 1.2 em. Like, all these might be too big. That's even bigger than what I wanted, so it'd be default 1 I guess, and then 0.8. That's a bit better. Okay, it doesn't really make much of a difference, but just whatever kind of looks good or looks okay. Not trying to make it, as I said, I don't want to waste too much time with all this sort of looks, but yeah. So border bottom 1 pixel solid. The reason I'm doing this is not for a real reason, but it's just because I hate it when I haven't got any sort of icons and then it's just floating about and it just kind of doesn't look ordered, doesn't look like a table, which is what I'm trying to go for this. So add that in, and now we got some space here. So then let's add in some hover effects real quick, because everybody loves hover effects. This might not actually be needed now. As I said, I did web development not a very long time ago, but some of these things may just not be needed anymore because the web browsers have updated to a certain CSS free standard. But I tend to just use them all, so that's Mozilla, this is Opera, I'm not even sure if that's even needed either, and then I do the generalized transition. What this does is, if you're not familiar with CSS free, this basically it adds effects, so when you hover the effects take that amount of time. That may look like not that much time, that's because it isn't much time, because I don't want it to make it look like when you're hovering over it, it's loading really slowly, and it just kind of, it detracts from the user experience, the UX. That's what we call that in the web development sort of area, field. And then when we hover here, what we're going to do is we're going to add in just a background color. So background color equals, I would say black, but that would kind of be a bit dark. So let's go near black, so 0 free that. So 0 very free, like that. And we'll add in, we'll change the color of course to FFF. And then I'll also show you another effect that quite a lot of people like for some reason. So when we hover here, that doesn't look too bad. So that is just fine. But what we're going to do for the main page is we're going to actually add a selected class now. Sorry if I'm not explaining this, it's just I'm trying to get through it all. So class equals selected, and then we'll do nav list, and we'll add that just under here, dot selected, and then we'll keep that the same, and just in case, just add a generalized, nah, just forget it, doesn't matter. There we go. Okay, so that's fine. And yeah, so that's the one that we're on, that's the dashboard, and we have these nice colours. Okay, I'll show you something that some people like for some reason. If you add in, because we've got padding and it's the border box, we can add padding to the left, for example, like 30 pixels, and then you go OK. And when you hover, it'll shift out the content, so it really looks like it's dynamic as hell. But I don't know, it kind of gets boring after a while, you kind of get sick of it because you're trying to get it somewhere, then it moves, and it's just kind of annoying to look at. So I tend to always have that off nowadays. Like that, there you go. And so that's pretty clean so far. And when we resize, it stays relevant and the content stays relevant as well. So now it's just a matter of adding in some content and then trying to get, you know, the responsiveness to work. Okay, I'm not going to make it completely responsive, as in I might miss out the sort of, you know, the fundamental sort of, well, not the fundamental, I'm not going to miss out everything, but stuff like a really, you know, swag icon for the mobile drop down menu and stuff like that. But we'll see what we get with this. Okay, we'll see how we go. Okay, how long is this video so far? So I can see it's almost half an hour, so you know, it takes quite a long time. And now in here, what we're going to do is we're just going to add in a H1. Oh, I forgot that keeps auto-completing. And then we're going to go to their dashboard, and then we're going to add in a P tag. Normally I wouldn't use a P tag, but it just doesn't really matter anymore. And here we're just going to say, here you can do stuffs like that. And there you go, really simple dashboard. Here you can do stuffs, and as I said, I'm no artisan, so I'm not really going to bother too much with, you know, the arty sort of area like graphic design. But what we are going to do, just for my peace of mind, is we're going to make that a bit lighter. So 42 for the color of P. So inside content, we can just globally style these sort of things. So content, hold up, P, content P. I should actually be moving this over to where the content is, like that. Actually, the technically speaking, if you were doing this in order, I'll have to move this up to where the sidebar actually is. I tend to try to keep it quite organised and add comments when I'm doing it properly, but just for now, it doesn't really matter. 42, I believe that was. Yeah, it was. And voila, it's just a bit, it's not noticeably lighter, but you know, just a bit lighter. We'll change the font size as well real quick. So font size, and we'll probably change the line height of the header as well. Font size 0.73 em, like that. That's a bit too small, but doesn't matter. Who cares? Right. Now, what we're going to do here is what quite a lot of people tend to do. They create a general container for everything so that it's styled pretty similar. So for this, we're going to do, I always call it box. So div id box, and inside the box here is where everything's going to go. So we have the header of the box, which is going to have the title of what the actual tool there is, and then we're going to have the sort of panel, which is going to be what's in it. Right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add in a div inside here, so a div class. Div class equals box top, that's what I call it, box top. And this is where you'll see another example of where the box sizing border box, or yeah, where that comes in handy. So instead of having to have a container in here that adds padding to the text, or having to, you know, shift the text using margin and stuff like that, we can literally just, you know, say, let's call this news. So news, this is going to be where the news comes in this thing, or something, just something like that. I'm just making it up, right? And then we're going to add in div class equals box. I'd call it pane, but let's just go box panel. And then wd box panel. This, oh, I hate how it keeps doing this tab thing. It's annoying. This is some simple. Whoops. This is some simple news. La 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 la, like that. There you go. And there you go. You can't really see the effects I'm trying to go for with this, but we'll see in a second. Let's go with Billy's hole, where this is. Beliefy hole, I'd call that. A bit weird, but yeah. That's the colour we're going to go for, but for the box header, so that's why I copied that just there. So div box, the width's always going to be auto, and let's shift it down, so margin top 15 pixels, and then do div box top, and make the colour of that a nice light white, and add some text shadow as well. I believe it's text shadow. Is it text shadow? Maybe, yeah, it's text shadow. 0 pixels, 1 pixel, solid, solid D. Let's call it that. Kind of, that's a bit weird, solid D. But yeah, dark basically. Whoopsie do. The background color. That's what that is. The background color, like so. Voila. And then go down a bit, and the box panel, and let's add an E. This is weird because we try to add like a sort of border so it doesn't just look white, and I want to keep it kind of clean looking, so I'm not gonna. Let's change the background color of the content to concrete, like that color. So content equals. So sometimes what I do is I tend to just kind of. What's the word? I tend to improvise. So if I want to use a certain color, I'd change absolutely everything in the site, or most thing, like a huge sort of container in the site, like that. And then what I do is I would go back to box top, and actually no, I'll go back to box panel actually, and add in some padding. So padding equals 15 pixels as always, and the background color of this is going to be white. So background color of this is going to be white. The reason I'm making all these colors, I'm not trying to, be really pedantic about the colors, but I'm trying to, just to kind of show you guys what, just so you can actually see the layout bounds essentially. And then box top, we're going to add some padding. This is where, border box sizing, or whatever the hell it is, box sizing, border box comes in handy, because we can just say 5 pixels, and there you go. Perfect. That looks pretty clean. Except from the fact that what happens here is we have the content, which is 15 pixels shifted, and then this stuff here isn't 15 pixels shifted in as well. So let's do that. We'll also have to change this as well, because that's a bit weighted basically. So font weight equals 300, so that's going to look pretty light, but shouldn't matter. That looks weird actually. I forgot. I need to take off the spread of that, so it's flat. That's even weirder actually. Let's change that to solid black. And there you go. And now we have this sort of black that goes flat behind it. That's pretty cool. And now, usually I would really care about using this properly, as in it has 4 arguments for this. Essentially, it has 4 possible things. So that would be, I think it's top, right, left, bottom. I think it is, or the other way around, top, left, right, bottom. But I'm not going to bother that real quick. I'm just going to do padding left just to save time. Padding left equals and 15 pixels, so it matches the box panel like that. Okay, now these are aligned. It doesn't look great, I must admit, but it doesn't look bad either. And now when we resize this, of course, it all stays relevant. Okay, so that's useful for us. It all stays really relevant, and yeah. So this is basically, it's kind of, you could call this responsive, because it works on basically almost all screen sizes. I still need to add in sort of mobile support, and that might take a while, so I might have to make a separate video just covering that. But it shouldn't take too long actually. It shouldn't actually take long at all. But yeah, so box panel, change the color in here to D. Yeah, I didn't realize that would be that color. Let's make it 333. That's darker. Yeah. So I'm not really too bothered actually about how it looks, but it should be fine anyway. That's fine looking. What I'll do is we'll actually duplicate this just to show you why I put it in the container box. This means that we can, make multiple ones of these if we don't screw up this, that, and as you can see, they all stay, just under each other. So let's just have it free for now. Let's go into lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum. This is what most graphic designers and web designers use to add in fake content. So let's go for the second one. Doesn't look too fat. And we'll add that to the very bottom one. I really hate having loads of content and no content. It's really weird. And there you go. So now it doesn't look all the same. Okay, we won't change the headers of these because it doesn't matter. But yeah, that is us pretty much finished on the first part of this. So that's essentially, that's literally it. And people think it takes a lot of lines of code just to make that sort of simple thing. So that's why they rely on stuff like Bootstrap and other front end frameworks or whatever you call them. Bootstrap. And yeah, it's actually not that much. I've added in colors and padding and stuff like that, and that's 112 lines, and that's including like all the line breaks and stuff. 112 lines of CSS. So that's 1,418 characters. Okay, so that's literally nothing. If you're a fast typer and you know what you're doing, it's not much at all. Okay. Now, it is coming to where we have to actually start adding in some mobile stuff, and the mobile stuff is actually very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to add in just above here, above the container, we're going to add in the mobile. So div class, you're wondering what I'm talking about when I say mobile. This is what we're going to click to shift down the mobile, like the mobile menu, because what we're going to try to do, it might not work too well, but we may have to duplicate this menu here, which is kind of bad practice, but it works. So if it works, it works. So mobile, and then to here we'll just do, there's actually an icon for it, and as I said, I use flat icon, but there's actually, I think it's Unicode or ISO, whatever the hell it is, but it allows you to paste something, but it doesn't work on mobile for some very odd reason. It's it's for mobile, but it doesn't work on mobile. Fucking pretty good logic there. But so that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna make it say click. So click, or actually no, let's just say menu, like that. Really simple. And actually, no, don't screw it. We're gonna change this to an A. I might change it. Oh, as I said, I test a lot of things, then change it back. Okay. Now above here, we've got. So if you want to add something like a news feed that just scrolls or something, you can put it in here. So I'm just showing you how easy and versatile this sort of layout is. It's all contained, so it's all really easy to change and functional. And we're gonna make the class this mobile, and the href equal to nothing. That means that when we hover over it, of course, over this part anyway, because we've not made it a block yet, it will change the icon or the scroll or the cursor. Right. So now let's go down to, usually I'd make a separate CSS file, but since I'm trying to show you guys as a whole how many lines of CSS it would take, I'm not going to bother. So a.mobile, was it? Yeah, was it mobile? Whoopsies. A.mobile. Hold up. Yeah, it was mobile. Display, block, color, completely just white, background, and make the background color just full on black. And yeah, that works. So I can see, since it's a block now, I can click here and it would basically do something. And let's add in some overall padding as well. And what we'll do is we'll actually make text align center too. Text align center, add in some overall padding of about 7 pixels so we can shift it. And there you go, the menu right there. And that is really, really simple. We're going to actually add a border bottom to this as well. I'm trying not to do too many styles, but I don't want to make it seem like what we're doing here is a waste of time because it looks terrible. Can you add in border bottoms to links? I am actually not too sure, but seemingly you should be able to. Let's just change this real quick. You may not be able to. That's odd. So yeah, that doesn't work for some odd reason. But we don't actually need it. It's completely fine. This means that these two sort of areas here, if it's selected, it looks a bit connected, but it shouldn't matter since they're not going to be shown together anyway unless you actually click it. And yeah, so the content's working quite well. If we resize, I'm just giving you a general overview now, and see it all stays the same. But if you're on mobile and you're viewing this, it would look like, well, it wouldn't look like this because that's not how it would look. It'd look, a zoomed out version. It would just look like this but on your phone, so you wouldn't be able to see any content, which is not what we want. Now I've not done this in quite a long time, so if I screw this up, you know why. Meta, it's not meta, is it? Meta name equals viewport, and is that right? Doesn't look right. And then width equals, is it equals? I have no idea anymore. Device width, initial scale equals 1.0, user scalable equals 0. No, I can't actually verify if that works, but whatever. We're going to add a quick active to this right here, and we're going to make the background color change a bit, so it goes up to 17, no not 17, that's too thing. 3, no not 3 either. 4A, that's what I'll go for, 4A. So a.mobile active. You could also add an active declaration for the other thing, but let's not bother. A.mobile active background color equals hashtag 4A, and now if we go here, voila, click it, and it changes color. But this isn't functional as of yet, but we shall try and do that. Okay. So what next? Just trying to plan out how we're going to do this. What we're going to do, we're going to have to add in the media, which is just the media queries. So media only screen, and that may be wrong, but media screen only, and maybe media screen only. Media screen only. Screw it. Let's go back to this. Media only screen. It was right the first time. Media only. It's 480, I believe. So media only screen. Yeah, it was correct the first time. Min width equal. Whoopsies. Min width equals 480 pixels. That's what people would call. I think it's landscape mobile, I believe. No, it turns out it's not. So smartphones. Let's make the min width 321. That's what apparently it is. According to this right here, smartphones landscape is 321 and portrait is 320. So let's just make it 320 because it's an even number. So 320 pixels, and we'll just make the body display. You might be thinking, what am I doing? It's just so I can check if it's working in the media queries. So body display none, and we'll go back to this, and yeah, I realised that should actually be max width. Whoopsies. So mistakes happen. There you go. So it proves it's working. But if we go like this, voila, ta-da, it's working. I might not cover the tablet because the tablet's just the exact same, but you change the width of the sidebar. And since this is flexible, this is what we call this. We call that flexible. It's not responsive. It's fluid. That's what we call it. The content area is fluid because it stays relevant when you resize it. Okay. So let's jump back into Sublime here, and we shall make it so that the header will stay exactly the same. We don't need to change that at all. But let's change the height of the sidebar. I'm not sure if that'll do much, but if we do sidebar, I'm just trying to make this as easy as possible. Sidebar height equals 0. I'm not sure if that will screw it, but we'll see. Yeah, that screwed it. Trying to think of the best way to do this. I might actually just add another menu, but yeah, just for now, what we'll do is we'll make it so that the sidebar display is absolutely none. And these aren't the best practices, so I'm going to get that out of the way right now. This is probably the worst practices that you can probably use, but I'm trying to show you. So when we do this, that does that, and now you're wondering why the content stays there. It's because we shifted it. So if we remove the content shift, I say shift because it sounds good, it's not really, it's just the margin. So margin left equals 0 pixels, and then fresh, there you go. And now because it's flexible / fluid, it stays where it's supposed to be. And now when we click menu, we should try and hopefully get the sidebar to be there. And now I'm thinking that if I made the sidebar the full width of the page, it would do this thing, which is basically it just goes above it automatically. It's what we call the static sort of layout. So if you were to do position static, it would do the natural flow of the page. That's what we call it, the page flow. So I'm going to try, implement that, I guess. So width equals 100% of the page, which is 100% of the screen, and there you go, it works. But now we have a small problem here, which is that the sidebar, the height is 100%, and I can't judge the height to determine what it is here. So trying to think of the best way to do this. The height could just be. Let's just go. It's really difficult now because I can't use a kind of pixels, because then if you add more, you have to change this, which is kind of beats the point of responsive web development. So hold on. I wish there were a way to actually just remove, because if we did this by default, like, see if we didn't have up here, if we didn't actually use it. So hold on. Up here, if we didn't have this height declaration, like, so we remove this right now, it will only show what it needs. When we go back here, it will only show what it needs. So see if I could somehow do that. That would be really useful for me, because then it would only use what it needs, and it would resize depending on what you have. I'm not sure how you do that. There is definitely a way to do that. I'm not saying there isn't, but I might have to cheat right now, because see, that's what this is the effect that we're looking for now. But we have to keep it 100% for. What I could do technically, which would be kind of bending not the rules, but it would be kind of going against standards, would be if I were to say anything that is above this. So anything that is above this media query, the sidebar is always going to be at a height of 100%, and that means that. So yeah, let's try that just real quick. Hold on. Sorry if I'm wasting time right now, but I'm just trying to get it to work well. Min width equals 320. So that's going to be the min width, 320, and then height of the sidebar, so dot sidebar height 100%, everything. Okay, so that means that I have to remove this now. So yeah, this, as I said, it's not the best way to do it, but if it works, it works. Famous last words right there. Alright, so that's what we're looking for. So when we resize, it goes back. You know what? That works just fine for me. I wouldn't say that that's not working. That's working perfectly. But that's actually useful because anything that is above this right here, such as the mobile A, like our anchor, so A dot mobile, that should be hidden. So A dot mobile display none. Whoops, you do display none, and then voila. And also the sidebar should also actually be displayed as nope. It's on this one that the sidebar should be displayed as none. Display none. I'm not sure what it's doing for it, but I have a feeling that would screw it up. But no, that's fine. That's fine. So now when we click this, we have to try and make the sidebar basically change, and the best way to do that is to use jQuery. So let's do that. So we're going to jQuery, just Google jQuery, and sorry if you guys aren't really much into JavaScript, but this is really easy, really simple. So let's use the compressed, the production one, and we'll keep this. Apparently JavaScript files can harm your PC, not sure how. But yeah, so now let's just take this and we'll copy it, and we'll go back into our main folder, and this is why we made the scripts folder, and we'll paste this in here and rename it and copy it. I would usually just keep it as jQuery, but then you can't find out the version, and sometimes things can change. It's very rare, but sometimes things can change. So it's good to actually know which version you're using so that you can, predict change, I guess. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is we're going to actually create a new JavaScript file and just save it real quick inside the scripts, and we'll call it general.js, like that. And then we'll start doing our jQuery in here once we've included it. So let's do script source equals script slash jQuery dot, whoops, is not, I just realised, there you go, .js, and that one actually has an area for it, like that. Right. And now let's go over to here, script and source, whoopsie bit, source equals scripts slash general.js. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to do some, this is jQuery now, so document dot ready, call a function, and document ready, call a function, and everything in here is what's going to happen when the page is loaded. So let's just do alert real quick and see if it works. There you go, we get an alert. So now that we know that jQuery is working, now we can add in a listener for the mobile. So we can say reference, so a.mobile.click, call the function. So create a new function here, and what the function is going to do is it's going to slide toggle. It's going to slide toggle the sidebar. So dot sidebar dot slide toggle fast. That's what we'll do. Fast. Now let's try this, and we'll go down. And there you go. So that is how you would do a responsive menu. And that is literally it, guys. That is so simple. That is basically, that takes us to the end of the video. It's really simple, really easy. But now we get a small problem, and that problem is that that's kind of annoying, because when we do this and we show it, it'll be shown, but then when we do this, it would stay on. So these are the kind of small problems that you would face, but you could just, I'm probably not going to fix this in this video, but you won't be expecting users to do that. You won't be expecting users to just kind of go, oh hey, I'm on the desktop, but screw it, let's use this. It's just pointless. I might be able to try to fix that right now, but I need to understand the logic behind that. So global, and when the min width of that, it's always going to be displayed as a block, so it should always be shown. Let's try that now. Big, it's always there. Done, it's not always there. So that is annoying. That's really pretty odd, actually. It's not happened to me before. There is one thing you could do, which is add a JS event, which would be, or a JavaScript event, which would be when the browser window is resized, check the width of the window, and if it's greater than 320 pixels, then go ahead and always show the sidebar. Just make it shown, just so it's shown. Display block, but that is kind of annoying. It's really kind of odd, actually. I'm not sure. Screw it. I think we actually have time to fix that. Yeah, we could fix that. Like, let's go ahead and fix that. the best way to fix anything though, of course, is JS on resize window, and there you go. It'll have the event and Stack Overflow, best site ever, and there you go. Window.onResize function, and we can then just check. I'm not sure how to get the width of that, which is odd because I'm supposed to actually do quite a lot of JavaScript. JS get width of window. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's just window.width jQuery. So let's actually go ahead and try this. It might not work, but just real quick, I might probably just cut it off if it doesn't work. You know, try our best to get this to work. So window on resize, just to show that the event's working, we'll just show an alert. And there you go, an alert, and another alert. That's fine. That's fine. Right. And now what we'll do is we'll actually just do an alert, and we'll do window.width. I want to see if that returns just an int or if it returns some weird. You saw that returns an int, so that's cool. That's fun. So now we have to add in some logic here. So if window.width is greater than 320, then take the sidebar and always show it. So show. And let's try it. So it's not shown. And there you go. That's a quick and simple fix. Voila. Right, so thanks guys for watching this video. Hopefully you would have probably not learned anything because I've just rushed it, but it shows you the kind of basic idea behind every single admin dashboard. Obviously there's a lot more to it if you're adding in elements like buttons and stuff, because you have to make sure that, you know, if it's centered, it's the right width, and that sort of, you know, detailed pedantic stuff. But this is basically just the basics. This is how you would go ahead and start making a site. Quite a lot of the clients, if I were to show this to a client right now, they'd say, okay, they wouldn't say it looks like, you know, disgraceful. They probably would say, can you change some things? So it's basically just a brief, not really a brief actually. How long does this take? It's just an overview, so it almost took an hour. So if you've watched this, well done. Well, thanks very much for watching it. But yeah, it's just me trying to show you that in 52 minutes we've created something that could be done in Bootstrap in probably less time. But you know, we have more control this way, and it's less generic and, you know, shit. But yeah, so thanks guys for watching this video. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. If you have any questions, just ask below. If you have any, you know, complaints saying, oh, you shouldn't really be doing that, JavaScript listener, also comment below. I'll get back to you and probably quote some stuff and try win an argument and probably fail. But so yeah, thanks guys for watching this video. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. As I said, thanks.